Solidarité, paix, développement. Meaning solidarity, peace, development. That's the motto of Yamoussoukro, the capital city of Côte d'Ivoire, the land of cocoa. The current champions of African football. Yamoussoukro was the name the French authorities gave a village in the area. This was around 1929. In 1960, Côte d'Ivoire achieved its independence from France. After independence, the government of President Houphouët-Boigny became a darling of the West. While the rest of Africa was still finding its feet in elective politics, the Ivorians plowed their way to economic prosperity under his one-party rule, maintaining a solid 10% economic growth rate for 20 years. Back then, agriculture was and still is the main source of income for residents of the city. In 1983, the then president of the country, Houphouët-Boigny, decided to move the nation's capital from the more popular town of Abidjan to the town of his birth, Yamoussoukro. Despite the authoritative nature of its government, post-independence Côte d'Ivoire and by extension, Yamoussoukro, bucked the stereotypes that most people had about African governments. Until recently, Côte d'Ivoire had been a safe zone for those looking for predictable and stable governing on the mother continent. So with those kind of numbers, the president's decision to move the capital couldn't have looked so bad to critics. After all, many countries have moved capitals without much turmoil. Unfortunately, his decision was ill-timed. Because during the 1980s, African Renaissance lost its stride. The roller coaster swings of commodity prices that undeveloped countries would endure was in full bloom. Côte d'Ivoire's economy started a downhill pattern, and the expected financial shelter from Western nations was no longer readily available with the Soviet Union's approaching collapse. Monsieur President, however, pressed on with his move to change the capital, but never really got to see its completion as he died in 1993. To this day, the capital is still viewed by many as an unfinished effort, as most economic and administrative activities are still done in the former capital of Abidjan. After Houphouët-Boigny's death, the country really began to disintegrate. Political rivalry became more entrenched and divisions within the society began to manifest as the economic situation of the country worsened. This climaxed into a military coup in 1999. After contested elections were held, the country's demise would now be unqualified as a civil war started. By 2004, tensions within various factions in government had gotten so bad that the country's former colonizer, France, sent troops through the capital of Yamoussoukro as part of a retaliatory response to President Laurent Gbagbo's attack on their military position in the country as peacekeepers. And so, after some 40 years of elective government, Côte d'Ivoire's exemplary reign of peace in Africa since the 60s up to the 90s was ended.